What's going on, guys? So this tutorial is going to show you how to fix a common issue with the Sega Saturn power supply. This fault is caused by a faulty offline PWM switch, which causes excessive ripple on the secondary side of the power supply, often resulting in lines on the screen and a high-pitched noise coming from the system. Okay, so you're going to need a few things to complete this repair. First up, you're going to need a soldering iron, preferably one you can adjust the temperature on. Next up, you're going to need some solder. After that, you're going to need a Phillips head screwdriver. I think a number 2 fits. After that, you're going to need the appropriate capacitors for the secondary side of the power supply. I'll put a list down the bottom of what you need to get. And lastly, you're going to need the replacement offline PWM switch. The part number is TOP202YAI. Okay, first up, flip the Saturn over and remove the 5 Phillips screws from the bottom of the console. Now flip the system back over and remove the top housing. Next up, we need to remove the 1 screw holding down the PCB and disconnect the main flex cable. Next, flip the console up and remove the 2 Phillips screws holding in the main IEC connector. With the screws removed, now gently lift up the power supply by the secondary side, which is the side with the connector on it. Keep in mind that the main filter capacitor, if you recently had the system turned on, may still hold a charge, so just be careful of that. Also, don't forget the small plastic retention clip near the main filter capacitor. Now with the power supply removed, flip it over and discharge the main filter capacitor using a flat blade screwdriver. Now, once more, flip the power supply back over and remove the single Phillips head screw attaching the PWM switch to the heatsink. Now, gently pry the faulty component away from the heatsink. This will make desoldering much easier. Next, to make desoldering a little bit easier, we're going to add some fresh solder to the points of the component. Now, you don't have to use desoldering braid like I am, it just makes it a little bit easier. If you're not using desoldering braid, just heat up one leg at a time. Whilst doing so, gently push the component out of the holes. Next, we're going to desolder the secondary capacitors so we can replace them. Keep in mind that some of them are 10 volts and some of them are 16. I'll leave a link down below of where you can get some. Because these are just filter capacitors, you can actually replace them with higher capacitance values and it shouldn't affect anything. Now take your new PWM switch and bend the legs to match the original one. Keep in mind that you shouldn't bend the center source pin as it can actually damage the device. Now take your new replacement component and insert it the same way around as the one you just took out, and also screw it to the heatsink as well, as this will help prevent thermal shock when you're soldering it back into the power supply. Okay, now just flip the power supply back over and solder the legs onto the board. Now this next step is very important. You need to take your snips and trim the excess legs off the component. This is to prevent any shorts from the primary side to the housing of the console, and that would be very bad. Once you've done that, now you just need to clean up the area with some isopropyl alcohol and just do a quick skim over the board and check for any bits of solder or any sort of shorts like that. Okay, just in the interest of saving time, I'm just going to show you me changing one of the capacitors, but you should really change all of these ones here. Just remember to keep the voltage either the same or higher, as in the rated voltage of the capacitor. The capacitance can actually be higher rated than the one that's in there. It wouldn't hurt anything. These are just smoothing capacitors. That's all they do. It doesn't matter. Okay, so that's pretty much this tutorial done. All you need to do now is just follow the disassembly instructions in reverse. Pretty simple. Put the power supply back in, remember to put the screws in, connect all the cables, close the lid, and put the 5 screws back in the bottom. And then you're done. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe, and all that fun stuff. Any questions, just comment down below and I'll try and get back to you. Anyway, see ya.